We're going to welcome to the show now Republican Minnesota Speaker of the House, Lisa Demuth. And she's also running for governor, and you've been very outspoken on this, so we wanted to bring you on. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Anna. It's good to have this conversation with you.
Are you surprised by this video and how much attention it's gotten?
I am not surprised that fraud is being uncovered here in Minnesota. What I will say, Anna, is it has gone ignored by Democrats here in the state of Minnesota for over 8 years. I'm grateful that this YouTuber, Nick Shirley, has gotten the attention that has been ignored by our mainstream media here in Minnesota. We've had other outlets, yourself and others, that have done a great job trying to shine the light. But Democrats in the state of Minnesota have either ignored the fraud that is going on or chosen to cover up. I'm not sure which one, but either way, it has gone unchecked in Minnesota under the Walz administration for far too long.
I think one of the reasons it struck such a nerve is that taxpayers, we all work for our money. We all work so hard for our money, and we see all the money going out. And then when tax season comes up in a few months, and you want to make sure it's getting into the rightful hands and be in the place where it's supposed to be. Now, NewsNation has been following these fraud allegations very closely, and first reporting on the state's troubled finances back in November, when current and former federal sources confirmed funds raised by a Minnesota-based nonprofit during the pandemic never made it to those in need. And Governor Walz has vowed that an audit on all these allegations is going to be completed by the end of January. But can you help put into context for us just how widespread this fraud may be throughout your state in particular?
This is potentially widespread through a number of agencies. And Anna, this is federal dollars that Minnesota then sends out, plus it's Minnesota tax dollars. So on both fronts, you're talking about what was reported in just childcare fraud or what was noticed by Nick Shirley. But we also know that there can be extended fraud in adult daycare, non-emergency transportation. We're grateful for the input from the U.S. Attorney's Office that has uncovered and exposed and now charging criminally the Feeding Our Future program, as you mentioned, during COVID, that was meant dollars to feed kids and families in need that didn't get to those people. It went out in fraud. This is very widespread. And I will say, when I was first elected to the legislature, started serving in 2019, I carried my first bill that would have helped with internal controls in the childcare area because there was suspected fraud at that time. A basic internal control where there had to be attendance records kept each day. And then when asked, they would be available upon request by DHS. You know what, Anna? I could not get a hearing on that bill. Democrats in the House of Representatives here in Minnesota continually blocked efforts by Republicans to put in internal controls and other things that would have helped prevent this fraud. They've blocked it for 7 years, and the time to end it is now.
Well, Elon Musk of Doge fame, he was championing getting rid of fraud, waste, and abuse around the country, is calling Tim Walz a crook. Now, Walz, as far as I know, has not addressed this video. We have reached out, as we mentioned. We haven't been given a response, but he was asked about just the widespread fraud a little over a week ago by local reporters. I was just looking through local media earlier today, and when he was questioned, he said, I'm not sure if when any of the allegations, because that's what they are right now, but if they are true, when it started, maybe it was when he was in office, maybe it wasn't, but he says he is going to fix it. He says he's the guy to fix it. What do you think people there in your state want to hear from him, since he's the one who's governor right now?
He has not done anything in 7 years to fix this fraud. So why he would start now, it's a little bit too late. I don't believe that he either is capable of fixing it or has the desire to. He could have fixed this over the last 7 years and has not done that. When I became Speaker in 2025, just in January, I established the Fraud Prevention and Agency Oversight Committee. It has shown a light on the fraud here in Minnesota. He could have fixed it when we established the committee in January of 2025. He has done nothing to end the fraud here in the state of Minnesota and the theft of our tax dollars.
Well, top Republicans are reacting to Shirley's video. I mean, I can't tell you how big of a story this is becoming. In fact, Vice President J.D. Vance taking to social media just today, I think we can show that as well, applauding this new video from Shirley. And in a second post, the VP claimed that fraudsters are, quote, stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans. What do you think changed in the past few months that this issue is now getting national attention?
We have finally gotten the national attention because of the work of our fraud committee and making sure that people knew about it. Other work like yourself, Anna, reporting, NewsNation reporting on this, other outlets that have finally drawn attention. It is getting that national attention. To have the Vice President of the United States point out on X that Minnesota does have a fraud problem here in Minnesota. It's interesting if you compare his tweet yesterday to the post by Governor Walz yesterday. Governor Walz had a picture of his cat. He's not worried about fraud here in Minnesota. We are. House Republicans and Republicans in Minnesota are saying this is enough. It is time to turn this around. Fraud needs to end now.
So if you become governor, you're running as a Republican against Tim Walz. And, you know, as governor, you're not the one who's out there knocking on daycares to make sure that they are who they say they are. But you would be creating a culture, right, is what you have said. So tell us what you would do on day one if you become governor to make sure that something like this doesn't happen.
There has to be the internal controls necessary. We need to stop the payments where there's suspected fraud across agencies. And I would hold agencies and commissioners accountable. Governor Walz has not fired a single agency commissioner or anyone over 7 years with fraud. I would expect that commissioners under my administration would be held accountable for not allowing fraud or preventing fraud within each one of their agencies.
All right.
Anna, to have $9 billion of suspected fraud going out with a $66 billion budget, that is unconscionable, and Minnesota taxpayers are tired of funding fraud under Governor Walz.
Look, these growing fraud allegations there in your state, there in Minnesota, we are asking Governor Walz. We'd love for him to come on the show. I'd love to interview him as well, particularly about this headline today about the daycare that's accused of receiving some $4 million and not having anybody inside and misspelled signs outside. We'll continue tracking this. Thank you so much for being here, Republican Minnesota State Representative and candidate for Governor Lisa Demuth. Thank you.